Hello, welcome to my channel. My name is Brandy and this is Mama Indica Crafts. Thank you for clicking on my video and checking out what I'm making. This is Flosstube number 1, so there's going to be a little bit of an introduction to who I am, what you can expect on my channel, and then we'll go into a little WIP parade and some goals for 2024. Like I said, my name is Brandy. I do a lot of different crafts. I dabble, but cross-stitch will probably be my main focus here on the channel, unless something changes drastically, but who knows. I started cross-stitching as a teenager. I did some projects, and then I laid the craft down for about 15 years. Between work and school and motherhood, I didn't really have time. Some things changed in my life back in 2019, which allowed me more time for crafting, and I'm sure we'll talk about a lot of that on the channel later. But I became a home caregiver for my son Lennon. He's 22 now. He was 17 at the time, and the pace of our life slowed down. So I have plenty of time to craft and picked up cross-stitch again. My first project that I started was for Lennon, and most of them are, you'll see. I also like to stitch things for my fiance John and a couple of things for myself. You will notice that there is some profanity in some of my pieces. You may hear a naughty word come out of me once in a while, but I'll try to keep it to a minimum. I will say, it happens. I love creating pretty things, and I want to share them with people. So I think that about covers me and what you can expect on my channel. Just me sharing pretty things, or what I think are pretty things. So the first project that got me back into stitching was in 2019. However, I don't have anything that started before December of 2022. And the reason for that is I started this giant, well, what I consider giant, full coverage piece for my son. And I worked on it for about 2.5 years. I got a few pages in and realized I mismeasured my fabric. And it wasn't going to fit, so I had to start over. And when I did, I decided I no longer wanted to be a monogamous stitcher because I was afraid I would get completely burnt out before finishing this project. But when I saw it, I had to do it for my son. Super Mario World is my first video game and my son's first video game, and you will never meet a bigger Mario fan than my son. He has all of the games and tons of toys and stuffed animals and t-shirts and talks about it all the time. He loves Mario. So when I saw the main world map cross-stitch pattern on SpriteStitch, I believe it was where I found it at first, I jumped on it. I had to do it. Like I said though, I worked on it, mismeasured, had to start over. I ended up switching to a different pattern, and I'll show you why when we get to the pattern part. This pattern is from BoxCatShop on Etsy. If you haven't played the game, this is what the map looks like. Now, in the original, all of that blue water contained little tiny white waves all the way through it. I didn't want that anymore because it drove me nuts, and that's why I switched to this one. Now, this is on 16 count gridded Aida. What you see now is 3/1 in anchor, but the rest, all the colors will be 2/1 DMC. I just wanted to make sure the outline was nice and thick and bold. And here is where we are. You can see I have the top going down to the bottom to about the middle. I still need the Forest of Illusion and the rest of Chocolate Island. And then I'll be able to start on the color. We are 16,793 stitches in out of 254,016 stitches. So that's 6.61%. This is one of two projects that you're going to see that are year-round projects that I work on all the time. They really never leave their frames. The only reason that one's not in its frame is for this video. The rest are going to be in rotation, and we'll go over that with goals. Now, this map is part of a larger group of projects. The main map, there are 6 mini maps, and there's the title screen for the game. And I'm doing all of them because I have to do all of them. Most of them are only kitted up. I don't have them started yet. I don't want to start any until at least one of the 3 I have going is done. But number 2 is our first mini map. It is Yoshi's Island. And you see the little white waves that I was talking about? That was on all of the blue water in the big map on the other pattern. So this is charted by FunkyMonkey, who did the original that I was doing on the big map. It's a free pattern that you can find on SpriteStitch. If I can find it, I'll link it in the description, if I can figure that out, but it's free on SpriteStitch. And if you search Mario maps, I'm sure it'll pop up. So this is how far we are. This is Yoshi's Island. On 20 count Lugana, 2/1 full cross in the call for DMC. We have 234 stitches out of 37,632. So 0.62% is complete for that one. And the rest of the mini maps are going to be worked on 20 count Lugana also. Most of them on white, but the special area will be worked on black. But I'm thinking that might be a mistake because I hate working on black. But we'll see in the future. The third one that we have going from this series is the title screen, which is right there. I'm working this one on 25 count Lugana, 2/1 10th stitch in the called for DMC. This is 770 stitches out of 48,896, so it's 1.57% complete. And once I finish either this one or Yoshi's Island, I'll start in on another one of the mini maps. So that's all of the Mario projects that I have going at the moment, although I do have more patterns lined up. The next one is also a pattern that I'm working for my son. So his nickname is Lennon the Lemon, and he really likes gnomes. So this pattern is by KitsbySAStitch on Etsy. And she has so many cute gnomes. It's ridiculous. But I chose lemon gnomes. I don't know how to make it focus. I am doing this one on 25 count Lugana, 3/2 full cross. Now it is a paper pattern, so I don't have an exact stitch count or percentage, but I have completed 3 of the 5. So we're just going to call this one 60%. I have started on number 4, but only a few stitches. And you'll hear plastic rustling. I love the pretty project bags and I want to get some, but right now I am using large plastic bags because they're simply more affordable. All right, our next project, I am working for my mother, and this is called Succulent Heart. I am working this on a 14 count dyed purple Ada from my LNS in Denver. And I know that the camera is not going to show how pretty the color is on this fabric, but it is a lovely lavender color. Now, the numbers are a little wonky on this one because the background was charted in white and I didn't want to stitch white. So I just marked off all those stitches as being done in Pattern Keeper. So it says that I have completed 19,882 stitches out of 41,600, but I haven't completed that many stitches. So we're just going to say I have 22,000 left. Figure that makes the most sense to me. Next up, we have a pattern that I'm pretty proud of because I charted it myself. It is on 20 count Lugana, 3/2 tent stitch. This is my first time using blends. And this may be considered inappropriate by some people, but my name is Mama Indica. So, this is Rainbow Leaf. And here she is. And that one I have 13,913 stitches out of 17,711 for 78% or 78.56% complete. So that one is definitely going to be a finish this year. That's going to be one of my focuses. Well, it's in rotation, but when it's called up, I'm on it. Our next piece is by CutePatternsByMaria on Etsy. It's called Halloween Set Trick or Treat. And this is it. Isn't that adorable? So I love baking, and I love Halloween, and I love cross stitch. So this pattern is just perfect for me. It is on 20 count Lilac Lugana from my LNS in Denver. And here is where we are. And yeah, the camera's doing weird things with that color, but that's pretty close to accurate. We've got 1,170 stitches done out of 12,307 for a total of 9.51% on that one. The next pattern we have, oh, there it is Doom Gur by KixStitches on Etsy. I am working this one on a 20 count apple green Lugana. If you can't tell, I really like 20 count Lugana. 2/1 full cross in the called for DMC. And that is where we are there. We have 1,591 stitches out of 6,099 for 26.09% complete. That also should be a finish this year. Up next, we have a piece that I honestly might UFO. I haven't decided yet. Only because I'm just not liking the coverage of the stitches on this fabric with the number of threads. I'm just not liking it. So this is one of the first ones I started before I discovered pre-gridded Aida. And it is called, it's just called Cat, but I call it Rainbow Cat. Here we go. Really cute. I'm working it on an 18 count Aida, 2/1 full cross with the called for DMC. And you can see what I'm talking about up here in the corner with the blue and black area. I just don't like the coverage. So I'm thinking I might UFO this. I am 3,746 stitches out of 26,112. So I'm 14.35% done, but I don't think I want to continue if it's going to look like that. So we'll see what happens with that one. I love the pattern. I'm not liking my execution. So our next project is one that I've wanted to work on since I first saw the picture. Before I even knew it was a cross-stitch pattern, I saw the artwork and I'm like, ooh, I want to stitch that. And then I found out that Medusa Dollmaker had her kits through Gecko Rouge. And I wanted all of them. But they were a little out of my price range. So I tried charting my own and I wasn't happy with how the mock-up was looking. And then I discovered last week that Medusa Dollmaker is selling the charts in her Etsy shop. So this only has 1 day's worth of work in it. It is a fresh start. We are doing Gamer. On 18 count gridded Aida, 2/1 full cross. And like I said, I only had 1 day worth of work so far. Just a couple hours. But we got 250 stitches out of 193,936 for 0.13%. And we will get a lot more than that this year. Why are you taped? What? Oh. Things are getting taped together down here. So up next, I have, it's 2 patterns that came together. So there's the original version and the revamped version. You get both when you purchase this pattern from GranniePanties on Etsy. And it is called Damn. Load so I can show the people the picture. And it says, "Damn, it feels good to be a gangster." This is the original version. It's a little more simple than the revamp. It is on 14 count light yellow Aida that I got out of the scrap bin in my LNS in Colorado Springs, and I am about 75% done. I am also working the revamp of Damn at the same time. So the original I'm giving to a family member as a gift, and the revamp I am keeping for myself. It is a little bit blurry, but it also says the same thing. It's just the letters are ombre and there's more colors, just a little more detailed. Now this one is in a frame because I am currently working on it as one of my pieces for the month of January, and I've already got started on January. And this is where we are. We are doing it 3/2 on 20 count Lugana because I wanted it to frame up pretty big. I'm about 40% finished with it, and I'm liking the way it's turning out. And the needle minder is made from a button from Joann's Fabrics. So that is that piece. Up next is another piece that I restarted, but I just restarted it yesterday. This piece is for my fiance. He's also a gamer. He does mostly, shooter games and stuff, but he loves Pokemon. And I had started this pattern last year. It's Lord Libidin, Epic Pokemon Gen 1. And I got this far. But I realized as I was stitching that A, I wanted it to be smaller, and B, I found out that the colors were off a little bit in some of the pinks. On a message board I read that, or subreddit, I read that the colors were off. Well, I joined a Facebook group last week of Pokemon Stitchers, and someone had made a color-corrected version of this pattern in a max color with 250 colors in it, and I'm starting it instead. So I'm giving up on this. Now, I did have 2,868 stitches here, but we started over, and now I only have about 200. But I'm already liking it a lot more. And I think it's going to stitch up a lot faster because I'm doing it on 25 count Lugana, 2/110 stitch. So I got those 200 stitches just like that. So we're going to be getting a lot of work done on that one this year. The next one is another Pokemon piece, also for my fiance. This one, however, is not going to take nearly as long because it's almost done. It is called Choice. It is by RetroStitcher on Etsy. It says every journey begins with a choice with the original lineup. This one is being stitched on an 18 count Ada from the scrap bin at my LNS here in Colorado Springs. It is, I don't know if the camera's going to show the color, but it's like a light misty blue-gray. And this is where we are. So all I have left is the leg of the side over here, and then the little flower star things that are peppered throughout the main screen. And then I'll be done. So this one is definitely going to be a finish as well. Probably before his birthday in March, I'm thinking. All right. Our next project is also in a frame because I'm working on it, and it's a paper pattern. So this is a book that I found on eBay, and I'm definitely an 80s kid, so I had to have it. I love Rainbow Brite. I mean, how could I not? So my plan is to stitch up all of the kids and where are they? All of the sprites, especially. I want all of the sprites. And I'm going to use them to decorate my bathroom. But the first one that I'm doing is Canary Yellow. Tell me that's not the most 80s thing you've ever seen. I love it. I am stitching her on a 14 count Aida that I dyed myself. 2/1 full cross. She's looking a little possessed right now because there's no back stitching done, but she'll look good when I'm done. I'd say I'm probably about 40% done with her also. Ah, don't fall. Definitely a finish this year also. Probably going to finish her this year and hopefully start another kid or maybe a sprite. So our next project is also a recent start. This one I started last week. It is called Banana Bread, and it is by Landscapes Are Boring on Etsy. I figure pretty much everybody has seen the banana bread video where the kid got some banana bread at work did. And I love that video. Just on a spiritual level. So I figured I would make this pattern. And it is on 18 count Aida. And I don't know if doing it on a gridded Aida was a mistake because I've never tried to wash grid lines out. So we'll see if they actually disappear or if I'm going to be left with a weird checkerboard behind my piece. But this is how far I am. I just feel like the Banana Bread guy teaches us to appreciate the little things in life that bring us joy, even though there are bad things in this world, dude. Let's see here. I am 2,703 stitches in out of 8,153. So I'm 33.15% done with this piece. And my fiance wants to hang that up at his restaurant when I'm done with it. So we'll see how that goes. So all of those that you've seen are in rotation for the year. And we'll go over that in goals on how they're going to be pulled up. This is the last piece that is an all-year project. And it is a temperature stitch-along by ClimbingGoatDesigns. And I'm so excited to start this project. I've got a little bit done on the border. And I've got all of my beautiful colors from Cosmo, which are not the colors that were called for the temperature chart. But as with most temperature SALs, you can kind of make whatever color chart you want. So I had a bunch of Cosmo from my last temperature stitch along that I abandoned because I started it in May. That was real smart. But I abandoned that. I have all this Cosmo left, so I'm going to use that on this particular piece. And this is called the Moon Phases Temperature Chart. It is glorious. So it has the phase of the moon for every day of the year, stitched in the high and low colors for the day. She has charted, or I guess that's assumptive, they've charted the moon phases for almost every time zone on the planet. So pretty much no matter where you live, bar a few places, you can get this chart where it's customized to your area, which I think is amazing. so much work went into this pattern, and I'm very impressed. I am working it also on one of the prettiest pieces of fabric I have ever seen. And I'm sorry for the little yawn there. It is almost midnight where I am, but I had to film after my son's asleep. So here we are. But this fabric is from Witch's Gardens Crafts on Etsy. It is called Envy, and my camera does not begin to display the beauty of this fabric. Also, you can see I got the border started for the Phases of the Moon temperature cross stitch. I can't wait to get started on the moons next week and get the border finished up. Oh. The Needle Minder Handbook for the Recently Deceased is by Grandma Girl Designs on Etsy. I also have a Six Sad World Daria one. Awesome. So that is that. And that's it for my WIPs. I do have a couple of new starts. Well, I have many new starts actually planned for this year, which we're about to go over my goals. So, my first plan is to get 20,000 stitches, well, 20,200 stitches on my main Mario map. I would like to get up to 37,000 stitches this year. I will be working on it consistently throughout the year, and the way I have figured it out, it should be about 390 stitches per month for that. Very doable. Or wait, sorry, per week. 390 per week. I was going to say that's way too low. 390 per week. So 20,200 stitches there. And then I am using WIP Go modified to determine what I'm pulling out of rotation at what time. I've never done WIP Go before. I had never heard of it before this year. But I decided to give it a try because there's a lot of these pieces that I haven't touched in months, and I want the motivation to work on the pieces that don't necessarily call to me as strongly. So this is my setup. So what I'm doing, because, you know, pulling 2 is great, but it's not quite enough for me. So I'm pulling a third number from a random number generator so that I can pull a third project from my WIP list. And I'm rolling a dice to pick from 6 listings for full coverage projects for my secondary full coverage project for the month. So every month we'll have 6 projects. Well, no, I'm sorry. 6 projects, 6 WIPs. Plus 2 new starts every month. But those new starts will be finished every month because they're minis. So for the month of January, we have 9 and 22 were the numbers that were called, which coincides with Dam Revamp for me. And our goal for this for the month of January is going to be to finish the clouds, and it feels good to be a gangster. That's our goal for January on this piece. The next piece that's been called for January is Canary Yellow, which is why she's in a frame too. And we want to finish her hair and her hand and start work on her leg this month. If I get further, great, but that's where I want to get. I always forget this last WIP because it's so little and it's not on my list. Oh wait, I'm messing up. So this is Guyy Fieri. I'm working this one for my fiance as well. It says, there is no good or evil, only flavor. He's on 16 count Ada, 2/1, full cross. That's where we're at with him. For the month of January, I'm going to finish his face. I feel like that's fair goal. So those are the 3 numbers that were called. Well, 2 + 1 numbers that were called for January. And then I rolled my dice for my full coverage project, and the project that was called was Epic Pokemon, which is great because I really want to get some work done on this, and I think I can get 1,000 stitches in the month of January is my goal for this. So those are the WIPs for January, and my goal for new starts for the year is I would like to do 1 mini masterpiece every 2 weeks for the year of 2024. I have completed 1 so far. I actually completed it this morning. And these are by, I don't want to say it wrong. The Stitch Patterns. I'm glad I looked at it because I was wrong. The Stitch Patterns on Etsy. And I bought their whole shop when it was on sale for Christmas. And it has a couple hundred of these little mini masterpieces. And this is the first one I did. I did this on 18 count, 3/2, because I wanted it to fit a specific size frame. And I'm going to do one of these every 2 weeks for the whole year. The next one I will be working on getting started is Starry Night. I'm going to be working it on a navy blue 14 count Ada that I found in my scrap bin at my local LNS. I love the scrap bin, if you can't tell. I'm lucky enough to have 2 LNSs near where I am. I have my one right down the road from my house in the Springs, and they are mostly a quilting shop, but they're an amazing one. They have so much beautiful fabric, and the nicest staff. They have a little needlework section. I believe they used to have a bigger needlework section, but they downsized it and bumped up the quilting. But they still have these big bins full of scraps. They have they have a couple of bins for 14 count, and a couple of bins for 16 count, and all the way up through linens. And it's just all different sizes. Some of them are tiny. Some of them are huge. All different sizes. And if you take the whole piece, you get 20% off. And I find scraps that I can do my little mini pieces on, and I love my little LNS. I also have one in Denver if I want to make the little hour drive that has anything you could possibly want for stitchery. I am in love with the stitching shop in Denver. They're wonderful. I have to avoid going there though because I spend too much money every time I do. I have to go back later though. I need a new Q snap. So that, I believe, is my goals. Oh, I also want to keep up on my moon phase temperature cross stitch. So I want to make sure at the end of every month I am caught up for the month. I believe my overall goal for everything for the year is around 150,000 stitches. No, that's not right. It's about 200,000 stitches. About 200,000 stitches. Because I'm trying to get... Wait, no, that's not right either. That's 150,000 stitches. I'm sorry, it's late. My math part of my brain stopped working around 11:30. But in any event, if you're still here with me, thank you so much for coming and checking out what I'm working on. It's not the biggest WIP parade ever, but like I said, it's enough to keep me busy for the year. And I will be back around the end of January to update you with my progress and go over my goals for February. Have a beautiful day and happy stitching!